joining me here at LAPP Fest. I am so excited to have you because you are literally one of my biggest icons. You've been slaying the screens my whole life, and I thought that you'd be the perfect person to have as part of LAPP Fest to drop a couple of gems, you know. I feel like you have a lot of advice to give. I feel like you've got, you know, a couple of things that we need to be hearing and need to be knowing about. So I thought I would just dive straight in. Obviously, as I said, you've been slaying the screens, right? So when did you realize that you were the shit? Like, when did you start, you know, like, let's just dive straight in. I want to know when you really started to come into yourself, find yourself, and just start catching a vibe with life. Because I feel like so many women out there, we feel like we need to have everything all together. We try and push aside our insecurities, but we can't help it. Like, I want to know when you start to feel comfortable in yourself.
You know what? It goes in and out. I mean, and that's just like being completely honest. The first time I was like, I'm the shit, oh my God. I was in the 8th grade and I got my braces off. And you couldn't tell me anything. Because I had buck teeth. I had like, my gap was like, it wasn't like a cute little gap. It was like one tooth was further out. I used to suck my thumb. So when I got my braces off, I was like, oh shit, I'm the shit. This is like, you can't tell me anything. And then, when I, like, you know, after the first time I snuck into a club in high school and I got a little attention.
Tell me about that.
Right, you know what I mean? So my older sister is like 4 years older than me, and she was at college. And she asked me if I wanted to go to an Alpha party, which is a Black fraternity in the United States. And I was I was only 15, and I went in. And, you know, I'm like the kid, I'm a corny kid. And I pulled some dude, and I got a number. And I was like, oh my God, I'm the shit now. I can't.
On the cell phone.
Exactly. But over the years, it's just, you know, because it's like you get the confidence and then life happens. And something happens to kind of knock you off your pedestal or knock you off your path, and you have to constantly be righting the ship and finding your confidence within. So where it's been more consistent, because it's always going to go in and out. That's just life. Probably not until early 40s, like in the last few years, have I really felt confident in my ability, in my intellect, in my work ethic, and just kind of who I am, like in my soul, at my very most basic, what is in my heart, what is on my soul, and being comfortable with that. And that giving me confidence, not being fueled by fear of failing or anything like that. So, but it's, you know, listen, it's a life journey.
It goes in and out. That's the funniest thing. Like, people see, especially with social media, people see such a curated version of people's lives that they don't actually realize that everybody has those ups and downs. You know what I mean? I think that social media has been one of the most craziest things to be introduced, especially for young girls, because I feel like they don't get to see necessarily the ups and downs that we know in ourselves that we go through. Yeah. Okay. So I want to know, what was it like? Yeah, because you know, I'm just like, I really want to know the answer to these questions. I remember the very first time that I went into a modeling casting. Yeah, I was so nervous. I was wearing a fake Gucci belt. I had red hair, first of all. Okay, I remember having some pants tights on. I thought I looked so good, but when I finally got in front of the people, the way that I froze up, and when they gave me a pair of heels, they were higher than the ones that I had been practicing in. Yeah, I panicked. If you saw my walk, yeah, you would have been like, what's this girl doing? So I would like to know, what was your first audition like?
Oh gosh. My very first audition was for Saved by the Bell. It was like a Saturday morning teen show. It wasn't the crew that you're used to with, like, you know, Lisa Turtle and Slater and all those. It was a whole different cast. And I had to go in and read, but it was only a couple lines because it was a very small part. I was Mistletoe Girl number 2.
Nice.
And I'd never done it. I had no idea. I didn't go to school for acting. I never wanted to be an actor. This was not the dream. but I love the oral interpretation of literature. I'm someone that is obsessed with words. I love reading. I love giving speeches. Like even as a kid, I love that part of school. So I kind of just looked at it as a fun challenge of going in there and trying to, deliver this oral interpretation of this literature for Saved by the Bell, the new class. But so I didn't have any fears because this wasn't what I wanted to do. This wasn't my dream. So it was just fun. It didn't get I didn't start looking at auditions as scary, or I didn't put a ton of thought into it. Because at the end of the day, I was like, okay, if I don't do well, I wasn't supposed to do well. And I'm like, I don't care. It wasn't until years later into my career where I started getting more challenging auditions, and the one that effed me up bad was for ER. It wasn't even an audition. I booked it, but I was on set, and it was a scene where I was supposed to cry, or not even cry. It says my character got misty, and it's on the day, the cameras are rolling. This is the number one show on television, and I'm a guest star. There's not a lot of Black people around, and the camera's close up, and they're like, we got that one. Now just let it go, as if I had been holding back. And I was like, I couldn't cry on cue. I don't know what I'm doing. I've been kind of fumbling, just doing my impersonation of what actors do. And it was the first time that I was really just stuck out there, completely unprepared, realizing I don't know what I'm doing. And if I have a real respect for what I'm trying to do and the people that came before me, I need to learn what the hell I'm doing and humble myself and take some classes, ask some questions. Because just because someone gives you an opportunity doesn't mean that you're prepared for it. And that doesn't mean that you respect the opportunity. And that was the first big, oh shit lesson. Otherwise, it was just kind of fun at first. I remember my first modeling audition. And listen, you could not tell me that being a model in LA, I was not Naomi Campbell, which absolutely not. And I had a book of they weren't even, it wasn't real photo shoots. It was somebody's dad's friend taking pictures in the driveway, and I was walking in I had a real book. And I was short. And I always thought of models as just the most beautiful women in the world. And, you walk into a room and everyone's stunning, everybody. Yep. And somebody said, because if you don't get a job as a model, or I thought, oh, you just don't think I'm pretty. What do you do with that?
You take it personal.
This is just what I look like. So if you don't like what I look like, what do I, that was debilitating. And somebody said, oh, baby, not all models are pretty girls, and not all pretty girls are models. And what someone needs for that picture or that campaign or that runway show has nothing to do with who you are on the inside and what you bring to the table. And your attitude can shift how someone sees you on the outside. And I was like, it sounded like bullshit at the time because I was crying and I felt hideous. But now that I'm on the other side and I'm evaluating talent and we're trying to, get people hired for one thing or the other, how people walk in, you could be the most stunning person, but what's happening inside changes everything. Your whole vibe influences how people respond to you. You know what I mean? You could deliver the most perfect audition, but if there's something that's not right inside, that's what I'm receiving, not the world's best audition, you know what I mean? Or the world's best runway, or sometimes people's energy is just off. And so it's when you're working on your your monologue or your walk or your look or whatever, do the same kind of work on the inside, because if your vibe is off, inside, you're off.
Facts. Ooh, that's a line. That is a line. I like that. I want to know, because I see you on live the other day with Aisha and Steph, and you were saying that you were really living your life in your 20s, right? You said your 20s were your 3 years, right? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So I want to know what made your 20s the most lit time. I want to know what you were doing, how you're moving. Who were you then? When you woke up in the morning, what was Gabrielle doing in her 20s? I want to know.
I was doing any and everything. Like once you know what I mean? Like it was the most dark, effed up crap that could happen to somebody at 19 happened to me. So once you like dance with the devil up close and live, I'm not afraid of living. You know what I mean? Like when you feel like you were close to death, I'm definitely not afraid of living, and I'm gonna do it all. Anything I've read about, anything I've seen, I want to try. Like I'm going to enjoy it. Like, what is the point? Like, because when you really start paying attention to the people around you, right? And the people that hang their hat on being the good ones, or I followed all the rules, or I made everybody proud, but I didn't do anything that I actually wanted to do. Their lives didn't sound that exciting. And at the end of the day, there's no red ribbon for following all the rules and living a life that makes everyone happy, that has nothing to do with your passions or whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna just try it all. I'm gonna do it all. I can't get any worse than where I came from, right? I want to live. And if that was dating and, et cetera, hell yeah. Et cetera. I'm gonna do it. And I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm not gonna feel crazy about it. And that's another thing. Like when I look at like the guys that I was coming up with who were living, and they're like,
they were doing
encouraging.
Everything.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, wait, what we're not gonna do is enforce some gender norms on me that you're not you're not enforcing on him or him or him or him or him or him. And they're having the time of their life. I'm gonna be over there having the time of my life with them.
And I love that. I love that.
The world didn't end. I didn't shame my parents. I did exactly with my vagina as I wanted to. And I had a blast. Yes. And it didn't stop anyone from picking me or whatever, all the things that people will use to try to control you. You got to do what's best for you. And if that's what's on your heart, like a lot of people legit aren't, built that way. Awesome. But what is great for you doesn't need to be what's great for me. Because I'm going to be over here on this tabletop, dancing, popping bottles, living my very best life. Yes, like all of it. You know what I mean? And, the only person who has to be accountable for this is me. And cool.
And that's how you learn anyways. You don't just learn from doing the boring stuff. Like you need to be going out and just living your best life and just enjoying stuff. And you're right about the whole gender discrimination between men and women. When you see a man out here partying and living his life, he's getting round of applause, he's getting clapped, he's getting that. But as soon as a woman tries to even step out and do a little something, have a little fun, enjoy herself, it's like the whole world is ending. And it's a narrative that I just really want to get rid of. It's a narrative that I really want to get rid of, because I feel like my best experiences have been the ones that people would have said, nah, as a woman, you shouldn't do that. As a girl, you shouldn't do that, or as a Black woman, you shouldn't be seen doing X, Y, Z because it drags down our whole community. Like that's so much resting on my back sometimes. But yeah, you just need to just live your life. And
do what's best for you, because it's just you. It's your life at the end of the day. When it's all said and done, there was over years, going to different funerals and memorial services, and you hear a lot of regret about the dreams that people had that they didn't follow for 1,000 reasons. And there's just a different kind of sadness, right, at those memorials. And then you go to a memorial where even if somebody failed miserably, they tried, and there's a wonder and there's a different kind of celebration of those lives of, I tried it. I tried all kinds of things. I just followed my passion. I followed my heart. Because you realize at the end of the day, it's just the end of the day. And it's you and your life and your heart and your passion. And I'd rather try it all and do, and make my heart sing than not try anything and make somebody else comfortable with my oppression. You know what I mean? It's just a different way of thinking about it.
No, you're definitely
you're right. Young. You probably have not gone to a ton of funerals. And it just sucks because you realize how many people lived small lives to make other people comfortable. you know what I mean? And for a lot of different reasons, but the people who stepped out on faith and just tried, you know what I mean? Even if you fail, like just try, you know?
I recently went to a funeral and it was of someone who was my age. And one of the things that just made me feel so down is thinking of all the things that they didn't get to do. And that thought alone sometimes just drives me to continue to just try new things and put myself out there and just take those risks, because, you know, you never know when it's going to be your time. So yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's the exact feeling that I got after my friend passed, because it was like, damn, you wanted to achieve so much, so let me just live out my dreams and just live my life to the full for those people who don't get to. So you're right. Speaking of just putting yourself out there, I want to talk a little bit about heartbreak. What was your first heartbreak like? I want to know, because my one is just like, wow.
You know, I'm trying to think of, there's the first heartbreak in terms of where you really put somebody on a pedestal, or you really, you know, have the complete trust in somebody and you've been let down. And that could be a friend, a family member. Usually it's like a parent or something. So those kind of heartbreaks hit a little different, you know, when you realize your parents are just people and not superhuman or superheroes, and they do real people things, and they make mistakes, and you're like, but you're a parent. You're not supposed to, you know, and they're just people, you know what I mean? So there's that kind of heartbreak. But the first like heartbreak was probably the first time I had a real kiss that involved, you know, tongue. And I was 15 and just where you just think that like that kiss, you know, it's like, you know, we read like the YA, and you know that once you have your first kiss, then they're gonna, I don't know, magically fall in love with you forever and whatever. So the kiss meant everything to me. Like I had planned it out, the outfit I would have on, what my hair would look like, would the snow be falling, like it just perfectly. And so I thought this kiss was life changing for all of us. And it wasn't. And he just moved on. And just that realization of just because it's happening in your mind or in your heart doesn't mean it's being shared by the other person.
It's so funny. I remember my first kiss, and I remember after we kissed, he put the anniversary of our kiss in his phone. And he was like, I'm going to set the alarm for 10 years from now. And in 10 years, we're going to come back and we're going to kiss in this very same spot. I'm like, 10 years from now, I probably had like 25 phones. I don't even remember this guy's surname, but at the time, it was like the most romantic thing. I remember like looking over and like, oh wow, tapping into his Sony Ericsson. So yeah, I understand what you mean. Sometimes it's just not that, people. It's just not that.
I mean, I still remember his name first and last. And every so often I'm like, well, how did life work out for you, Brian? You know, and I'd say his last name, but I'm not giving him that. Like, I just need to know. I need to know how breaking my little heart, how that worked out for you. You know what I mean? Because I didn't forget.
I wish I actually remembered his surname. I would have checked on Facebook. Well, I remember your first name, Michael. If you watch this, holla, would like to know what's going on in your life. I know you said that you like to party and enjoy yourself, but I want to know, what were the parties like? Like, what was your craziest after party experience? What was the most lit after party?
I mean, there's been a lot. I mean, I've probably forgotten more than I remember. The best parties, hands down. No one has really come close to it, were the parties that Prince threw. When Prince started doing these parties, it would be like after the Oscars or the Grammys or the you know, BET Awards, like he would do these parties. And if you didn't get a text, and to this day, I have no idea how Prince got my phone number or why I was chosen to get invited. If you didn't get a text, you didn't get to go. Like you couldn't bring a +1. So you just had to hope that whoever you were with was able to come with you.
Was invited.
You know what I mean? Or also got invited.
Wow.
And luckily, Sanaa always got invited and Regina Hall always got invited. So we always were able to go together. And we would just be like, because we never, you know, we're on the come up. So we're not like, you know, the biggest names or the hottest people. And so we'd kind of be like staring, and then like in would walk like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey and all these people. And they'd be like, oh, Sanaa, yeah, what's up? And you're like, Whitney Houston knows who I am. Mariah Carey is like what?
That's crazy.
Like, so, and they would just be having these jam sessions. Like Prince would be jamming with this, like a band in like a basement. And it's just like, it was just wild to me. Like everyone that I like looked up to and loved and was a fan of, you're just like sweating and dancing and just surrounded by it. But nobody's on some bullshit. Everybody's cool. Nobody's too cool for the room. And, you know, like it was just welcoming. I've never experienced anything like that ever again.
What time did they used to end then? Like what time were you getting home from these kind of parties?
The sun would be up, so it had to be like 7 to 8 a.m.
Edges sweat out.
Oh.
Brows off.
Listen, bro, I used to have like my weave, so like if that weave wasn't fresh, the braids underneath are swelling. This is sitting on top. Then my little edges were a whole different. I had like 5 different textures of hair all happening.
But it didn't matter because everybody was looking the same, so it did not matter.
Oh, no, they didn't all look the same because they had a different set of money than we did. Now, like me and Sanaa and Regina looked nuts, but no, everybody else looked amazing. They looked like the stars that they were. And we were like, hey.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm actually so
we were balling on a budget. We did not have the same access that they did.
That was me. That was me for so long, bro. Like before I learned about wigs and stuff like that, I just have my leave out. And if I'm going out to a party and there's no AC, it's just like, hold tight me, like, let me find a hat somewhere. So yeah, I fully feel that one. Okay, so tell me, what did you think motherhood was going to be like in your 20s? And how do you find it now? Because I know that I'm not ready yet. But so I want to know, like, what were your thoughts at your age in when you were 20 to now? Yeah,
when I was in my, I didn't, like, having kids was not on the schedule at all. Like, I looked at, like, my friends who I went to school with, and a lot of them started having kids, like, sooner than, obviously way sooner than I did, like 25 years sooner than I did. And it just looked really hard. It looked really, really hard. And just hard. Like there was like every way, shape or form. Like I remember the first time I saw my girlfriend's nipple that was breastfeeding. And I don't think I've recovered from it to this day. I was like, wait, what happened for it to look like that? And it looked like an open wound. And I was like, so you're stopping, right? And she was like, no, girl, like, this is how I feed my baby. And I'm like, but you're bleeding and like it looks like a finger. Like what is happening? Like
no
idea. And then it was like watching, you know, like young relationships, like how do you know, divvy up the housework and caring for kids and who ended up kind of getting stuck doing the bulk of it and whose dreams kind of got, you know, pushed to the side for a little while. It just looked really, 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 really hard. And now at, you know, having Cobb at 46, it's still hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's rewarding. Like I didn't quite get to see all of the upside when I was in my 20s, all the little victories, like watching somebody see the world through, you know, a different set of eyes and a different perspective. And it's awesome in a way that it's hard to describe. And yeah, but no, hard.
Thanks.
Hard.
Okay, good. Hard. That's all I needed to know because I'm scared, boy. I'm scared. I feel like I'm the type of person that would leave their baby at TSA because I've left a whole suitcase at TSA before, so I'm pretty sure I could possibly leave a child. So that's why I'm going to hold off right now. And like I've just bought my very first house and everyone's like, what are you going to do with the second biggest bedroom? You should like get it ready for kids. I'm turning it into a walk-in wardrobe, so I'm definitely not ready yet. So
everyone's timetable is different and that's okay. Exactly. So whatever your timetable is, it's perfect. And whatever the next person's timetable is, that's going to work out for them. But they don't have to match.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, because I don't think mine is matching up with anybody's just yet, especially not with this forgetful memory. But we'll get there one day, and then I'll definitely be messaging you for advice then too. But I wanted to ask you one last question. what would be your key piece of advice that you wish you were told in your 20s?
To not take advice from people who don't know you, don't care about you, haven't done what you're trying to do, and to categorically reject all commentary about your life, your choices, your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations, because it's noise, right? The only voice that you should be honing in on and listening to is your own inner voice. If you want additional help, ask very specific questions of people who have accomplished what you're trying to accomplish, or at least got close. And then at the end of the day, take all that in and then do what is best for you. But we often will ask people advice, and like people have asked me, how do you have a successful marriage? I'm like, I don't know, I've failed. Like, this is my second go around. I can tell you how to get divorced because I've done that. I can tell you how to jack it up, like all I can show you is what we're trying to do each day and how we're approaching each day. But we obviously haven't figured it out. Don't ask us. It's the reason why I shared that story about Aisha and Steph. Like, a lot of people will have commentary about your life that don't know you. I didn't know them. I saw two young people that were talking about, spending a lifetime together. And that sounded crazy to me because that wasn't my life plan. I offered commentary to their faces. Like they'd asked me, they had not. And I felt entitled to do that. And a lot of people feel entitled to have running commentary about your life who don't know you, don't know where you're trying to go, don't know what's inside. And you should tell them, shut up. Thanks, no thanks. You might want to check your own sense of entitlement that you just felt the need to just have verbal diarrhea about my life. Clearly something might be going on in yours that you might want to address. But like I started listening to Brené Brown. She has this podcast, and I'd first heard about her on, I think, Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, right? And then I went down the YouTube rabbit hole. And she's somebody that really speaks to me, right? And I started watching a bunch of different videos. Well, not every video speaks to me. So there comes a point in your life where you can listen to somebody who has a lot of great things to say and pick and choose what applies to your life, what makes sense to you. But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to listen to everything your mama says, your daddy says, your cousins, the peanut gallery on social media, because a lot of people who have the most to say haven't done this much of what you're dreaming about. And what they're projecting onto you is their fears about being looked at as less than. And it has nothing to do with you. Like, if you accomplish all this, are you gonna start to look at me differently? You know what I mean? And because that's a whole different thing, but that is so common. You know what I mean? Our fear of being looked at as not living up to whatever, or being a failure or whatever. And that's really where a lot of advice comes from. And it's not from a place of wanting to help. They think they're helping by sending you down a different path away from your dreams to cushion the blow of potential failure, like they might have experienced. That has nothing to do with you and your dreams. They're putting up obstacles that don't need to be there, giving you fears that you shouldn't have, because that's their shit. It should stay their shit that they should work on individually of you. And that would be my advice.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom with LAPP Fest. I really appreciated it, because I feel like there's so many interviews out there, but I wanted just to get some real shit. I needed some real advice. This is real stuff that I can apply to my own life, that I know a lot of people are going to find very, very helpful. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And thank you so much for agreeing to do this for me. I really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. I just love seeing us living so big and like just doing it. And I just get so geeked when I see it. So hope I didn't look like a weirdo, but I'm just cheering for you. Love to see you.
I didn't look like a weirdo, bro. Because like, as I told you, like I was sweating. My armpits were sweating when I was like, because you're it. And thank you so much for just being so real as well, because there's not that many people I feel who are in your position who are as honest as you are, and I really, really do appreciate that about you.
Well, thank you, Mama. Thank you.
I'm so glad that I was at least able to do this with you during this time, because I know that your schedule would usually be so busy. So I'm happy that I was able to have this talk with you.